You fertilized the plant because it looked weak, or because it was time. A few days later, the leaf edges are brown and crispy, or the whole plant is wilting, even though the soil is moist. Before you flood the soil or add anything else, stop. Fertilizer injury can begin in two places. Concentrated fertilizer can scorch leaves, stems, or crowns where it touches them directly. Where excess soluble salts can build in the root zone and make it difficult for roots to absorb water. The symptoms can overlap, and sometimes fertilizer is not the real cause at all. In this video, I will show you the 3 things to do immediately, how to determine where the damage started, how to rule out problems such as poor drainage and root rot, and how to help the plant recover without creating a second problem. Before diagnosis, before biology, before anything else. 3 things worth doing right now, regardless of which type of damage you are dealing with. Stop fertilizing. No additional feed of any kind until the plant has recovered and you understand what happened. This applies regardless of what the diagnosis turns out to be. If you can see fertilizer granules resting against the stem, sitting in a leaf joint, or on the surface of wet leaves, remove them now. Direct contact between concentrated fertilizer and plant tissue is one of the 2 damage pathways. Removing any visible source reduces continued contact and is unlikely to worsen either situation. Check whether the soil or growing medium drains freely before adding more water. If the container has blocked drainage holes or the soil is already saturated, flooding it further can create a second problem on top of the first. Confirm water moves through before applying more. And one additional step that will help you judge recovery: take a photograph now. Fertilizer damage can begin in 2 places, and the distinction between them shapes everything that follows. The first is direct contact scorch. This happens when concentrated fertilizer, granules resting against a stem, liquid splashed onto leaves, material sitting in a crown, contacts plant tissue directly. The damage pattern follows the contact area. You may see browning or irregular patches at the specific points where the fertilizer touched the plant, splash marks. Stem browning at soil level where granules were piled. The rest of the plant may remain structurally normal. Roots may be unaffected. This is localized surface damage. The second is root zone soluble salt injury. When fertilizer concentration in the soil solution becomes too high, through a single heavy application, accumulated applications over time, or applying to a growing medium that already contains significant nutrients, it becomes harder for roots to take up water. Root tips can be damaged. Water uptake can become impaired across the plant. The result can look like drought stress, wilting, yellowing, browning margins. In a plant whose soil is adequately moist or even wet, here is where it gets complicated. Both can produce brown leaf margins. Both can produce wilting in more advanced cases. A single application can cause both simultaneously. Contact scorch where fertilizer touched the leaves, root zone concentration from what absorbed into the soil. And excess fertilizer salts can damage root tissue and restrict water uptake alongside surface symptoms. So the 2 categories are not always cleanly separate events. What the damage location does tell you is where to look first and what to act on first. That is still useful, even when both are present. One more detail worth noting. White crust on the soil surface or pot edges may support the diagnosis, but it can also come from mineral deposits in hard irrigation water rather than fertilizer salts. It is a clue, not a confirmation. Before treating for fertilizer damage, it is worth confirming that fertilizer is actually the cause. Wilting in moist soil and brown leaf margins are not exclusive symptoms. Several other conditions produce them. Run through these 5 checks. Did symptoms appear after a fertilizer application? A clear timing connection strengthens the diagnosis. Contact damage may appear relatively quickly after application. Root zone salt injury can emerge more gradually, especially when salts have accumulated across several applications. Timing supports the diagnosis, but it does not exclude fertilizer as a cause simply because symptoms appeared later. Was the application measured or estimated? Fertilizer damage is more likely when amounts are guessed rather than measured. Exceeding the label rate makes injury more likely. That said, Label rate applications can still cause injury when the soil was already nutrient-rich, the plant was stressed, or drainage was poor. Following the label lowers the risk. It does not eliminate it entirely. Does the container drain freely? Wilting in moist soil in a pot without functioning drainage is more likely to be root suffocation from oxygen deprivation than fertilizer injury. Check that water moves through before attributing the symptom to concentration. What do the roots look like? For a container plant that slides out easily without force, examine the outer roots without disturbing the root ball. Pale, firm roots suggest the root system is largely intact. Dark, firm roots may be stained or aged. Dark, soft roots with an unpleasant smell are a stronger sign of root rot, which requires a different response from salt injury. Do not uproot an in-ground plant simply to perform this check. Were there other changes at the same time? A heat wave, a recent transplant, a shift in watering pattern, or nearby herbicide use can each produce wilting and marginal browning independently of fertilizer. If multiple things change simultaneously, the picture is less clear and the response should be more cautious. If fertilizer application clearly preceded the symptoms and the amount was estimated or exceeded the label rate, fertilizer injury becomes a leading possibility, especially if no other major environmental change occurred. If the picture is less clear, treat cautiously and consider the alternatives. One concentration principle connects both types of injury. Fertilizers contain mineral compounds that dissolve in water and raise the concentration of the soil solution. When that concentration becomes high enough, it lowers the soil's water potential, a measure of how readily water moves. When soil water potential drops significantly below that of root cells, water uptake becomes harder. In severe cases, water can move out of root cells rather than into them. This is the same principle that makes highly concentrated solutions difficult for biological systems to absorb. Concentration working against the direction you need. That one mechanism explains why the fix for root zone injury is not adding more nutrients. The root zone needs concentration to decrease, not increase. For root zone salt injury, recovery depends on safely reducing the concentration. For direct contact scorch, the priority is removing any remaining source of contact and supporting the plant while localized damage is contained. If granules or liquid residue remain on leaves or stems, remove them carefully. A gentle rinse of the affected foliage, not a flood of the root zone, can dilute residual concentration on the surface without adding unnecessary moisture to the soil. Fully dead tissue will not recover and can be removed cleanly. Leave partly green or yellowing leaves in place unless they show signs of disease or are completely beyond recovery. Partly green leaves may still photosynthesize and contribute to the plant's energy during recovery. Removing too much foliage from an already stressed plant adds another stress at a bad moment. Do not fertilize again until the plant shows clear active recovery. New growth appearing, undamaged leaves holding their color. For root zone soluble salt injury, the goal is reducing the concentration in the soil solution. For containers with adequate, functioning drainage, this means slow, controlled leaching. Run clear water through the growing medium at a gentle pace and allow it to drain completely before assessing whether to repeat. Do not schedule repeated daily flushes. Reassess the plant and soil condition before each additional application. Never keep the root zone continuously saturated. The medium needs to drain between each session for leaching to move salts rather than simply redistributing them. In a well-drained garden bed where a clear over-application occurred, slow, consistent clear watering over several days may progressively dilute root zone concentration. Do not repeatedly saturate heavy or poorly draining soil. Flooding a bed with poor drainage does not move salts. It creates oxygen deprivation at the roots and compounds the existing injury. For severe or repeated problems, a soil test that includes soluble salt measurement is more reliable than guessing at the concentration present. If the growing medium shows severe salt accumulation, but the surviving roots remain firm, repotting into fresh medium may be more effective than repeated leaching. Remove loose contaminated medium gently and preserve healthy roots. If the roots are dark, soft and foul-smelling, suspect root rot or oxygen deprivation rather than pure salt injury. That requires a different recovery approach and should not be treated simply by repeatedly flushing the container. Recovery takes time. Contact scorch damage will not reverse. Damaged tissue stays damaged. What you are watching for is the absence of new damage and the emergence of new healthy growth. Root zone injury recovery may take longer because root function needs to normalize before the plant's above-ground symptoms fully resolve. Expect improvement to be gradual rather than immediate. The instinct when a plant looks bad is to do more. When fertilizer has caused the problem, adding another product is often what turns a recoverable plant into an unrecoverable one. The fix begins with subtraction. Less contact, less concentration, and no additional inputs. Prevention here is less about doing more things correctly and more about removing the specific conditions where fertilizer damage becomes likely. Follow the product label as your starting point, not as a guarantee, but as the safest product-specific guidance available. The label cannot account for your soil's existing fertility, your plant's current stress level, or your recent application history. Those factors still matter. But carefully measured applications that follow label guidance are safer than estimated applications that exceed it. Avoid applying concentrated fertilizer to a dry root zone where the product instructions do not specifically direct it. For most soluble and granular fertilizers applied to established plants, moist soil at the time of application reduces the immediate concentration spike in the root zone. This is not a universal rule. Some slow-release formulations have different guidance, but it applies to many common soluble and granular fertilizers used on established plants. Reduce rate for plants under stress. A plant recovering from heat, drought, transplant, or disease has compromised root function. Its ability to manage nutrient concentration is lower than a healthy plant in active growth. Hold fertilizer until the plant resumes active, healthy growth. Where plant-specific guidance supports feeding during recovery, use a reduced and carefully measured rate. Track what you have applied. Root zone salt injury can build cumulatively when new applications are added before previous fertilizer has been used or leached away. A brief note of what you applied and when. 30 seconds of record keeping prevents the most common form of unintentional buildup. When handling fertilizers, follow product label guidance for storage and disposal. Avoid skin and eye contact. Keep products away from children and pets, and avoid creating runoff into drains, waterways, or areas beyond the intended garden. If this helped you work out what happened to your plant, the next video in this series covers why plants suddenly stop growing mid-season. Same diagnostic approach, completely different mechanism. Go back to that plant. The one you fertilized to help, that looked worse 3 days later. The confusion in that moment, the sense of having caused something without understanding what, is the most common experience in this specific situation. Almost every gardener has stood there. What makes it particularly frustrating is that the intention was right. You were trying to help. But a struggling plant does not automatically need fertilizer. It needs a diagnosis first. Applying the wrong concentration at the wrong moment to a plant that was not ready for it is a mistake. And it is a completely understandable one, because almost nothing in standard gardening advice explains the mechanism clearly enough to prevent it. That confusion does not have to be permanent. Fertilizer damage is not random. It is a concentration problem, either at the surface where fertilizer touched the plant, or in the root zone where it accumulated beyond what the plant could manage. Once the location is identified and the cause is understood, the treatment follows logically. And the prevention is simpler than most gardeners expect. Not a longer checklist, but a different understanding of what fertilizer is actually doing when it enters the plant's environment. The gardener who understands this stops reaching for the fertilizer bag when a plant is struggling. They stop equating more input with better results. They reach for understanding first, which is exactly where the right response always begins.